I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I am so grateful you've joined us for another episode where week after week I speak to the most amazing C-suite leaders, CEOs who have tremendous backstories and they share their thought leadership, their insights with you. And I know as I listen, I am so inspired by the stories they tell. But just know we put this podcast out there to C-suite leaders, C-suite leaders of tomorrow as a resource to help you navigate your challenges with confidence. And it is my pleasure this week to introduce to you Craig Steele, who is the president and owner of both Samson Shower Systems and CDS Advanced Quality Systems. He started both companies from the ground up and leverages his quality and engineering skills. We are kindred spirits there to solve internal issues and client issues. He has a BS degree in aerospace engineering and a master's in business administration and was employed for over 17 years at Cessna and Lockheed Martin. He is also a private pilot and is passionate about the aerospace industry, also an adjunct professor, and has a passion for learning and succession planning and many patents that we are going to get into. But it is my honor, Craig, to welcome you onto the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, for my listeners, I reached out to Craig. He had a super uber interesting background. We are both in engineers. We have been in the quality space. He's also in the compliance space, for which we're both experts in different standards, but all meant to help businesses realize their value and assure customer trust. But those were the reasons why I wanted to bring him on here. But the fact starting two businesses at the same time and the journey along the way was so interesting. But Craig, I am going to pass the mic over to you to share a bit about your story.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. My background is as aerospace engineering. Ever since I was a little child, I remember flying. Airplanes were always a big part of my life. My grandfather was a private pilot as well. And since I was a small child, he would take me and my sister and my grandmother to the airports, and we would watch airplanes flying. This is when you could get really close to the runways and just watch them come over your head. And I was always just enthralled by those. And so as I grew up, I was always surrounded by airplanes, reading books about airplanes, building model airplanes. My eyesight, unfortunately, did not let me go into the Navy. That was what I really wanted to do. And so they said, we can still ride on the ship. And I said, well, actually, I'm going to pause and pivot, and I'll go down and I'll just design the aircraft for you that your pilots can fly on. And so that's why I moved from a private pilot and a commercial pilot and a Navy aviator into aerospace engineering. And it was very interesting when I got into the field. When I started college, it was in 1997, or I'm sorry, 1992, and the market was really starting to crash. That was aerospace goes up and down a lot, very, very cyclical. And as I was entering the field, don't think I had but two people tell me, you're crazy for doing this. You'll never get a job. You'll never find any work outside of there because everybody's laying off. This is in the Southern California area, heavy aerospace industry out there. And I said, well, I believe in the cycle. I believe that it's going to be very cyclical, that it's going to come back out and rebound. I've seen this over the years. And sure enough, in 1997, 1998, it was coming back out, it's picking back up. I was able to find a good job and straight out of college. So that's kind of what prepped me. I've always loved airplanes. I've always been fascinated with aircraft. And so I started my first job as a design engineer at Cessna Aircraft. Um, just working on airplanes, little airplanes. I say little airplanes. They're 12 passenger commercial or private jets. And so it was fun to pay attention there. One of the things I would probably tell all the listeners is that if you're ever in a meeting and you're caught doodling and everybody slides back from the table, just remember you have been volunteered for whatever tasks were just given out. I was not paying attention in a meeting. I was doodling, and the next thing I knew, I was assigned, voluntold, to go down to the production floor and work this thing called material review board engineering on the same aircraft that I was designing. And so it was a great learning experience, not just because I didn't pay attention in a meeting, but to actually take what I've been designing and transfer that actually to the application and the real life experience of putting it together. And at that point, there was probably about 200 and some odd people that I was working with on a daily basis from the manufacturing world. Any type of issues they would have, I would come up with the engineering fix So I was averaging probably about 60, 70 non-conformance tags a day, just coming up with dispositions. So never a shortage of work, but that was a lot of fun. I rode that until the market started to go down again in 2001. As I mentioned before, it's very cyclical.
Mhm.
And I made the jump over to Lockheed Martin doing material review board engineering, but I went over the F-22 program. So I went from a very commercial oriented base to a defense oriented. Two different mindsets, two very different mindsets for those people who've been in the commercial world versus the defense world. Um, and your customers are different, have a lot of different requirements involved. And so just a little bit of nuances there. Acronyms, never met so many acronyms in my entire life as I did at those large OEMs. And so just learning those was always fun. Did material review board over there for a little bit, then kind of as you kind of can tell through my resume and my career, I get bored pretty easily, and I always challenge myself. I don't like to live in a box, I guess is the best way of saying it. I like to always challenge my own comfort zone. And that's probably one of the big things that I've been doing my whole entire life. My parents have been able to foster that. I've been very, very blessed um, in that aspect. So they're always encouraging to try something new. If you want to try it, try it. Just have a plan. Make sure you execute it. Um, don't jump without having a good plan in place. Think through it, so you're just not jumping from point to point to point. So I kind of was like, let's try something different. So I went to this thing called supplier quality. No idea what that meant, and immediately was told, hey, it's going to be 10% travel. Not a big deal. Two small kids, a wife. That's good. I don't think I saw my family for months. It was
I know.
immediate travel.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was not a fun one for mom, but and then I went from a mechanical world like manufacturing and mechanical parts to line replaceable units, electronic assemblies, and so complete shift not only from an engineering standpoint but from an analytical standpoint. You have two different platforms. You're very familiar with that, so um, having to make that switch and having now international partners that we had to deal with. So you have the internet. We did a lot of international travel with the F-16 program. So that was a lot of fun. And then came back, had the opportunity to work on F-22, F-35. About that time, that's when I said, you know what? I'm not excited. I don't think about how my cart is hitched to the horse here. I think I need to try something different again. At that point, I had the opportunity to go become a auditor and did the auditor training. I flipped a switch and got hired on as a certified auditor for a certified body, and that's what allowed me to say, okay, I'm going to jump. Let's. They said they can keep me busy. Let's see how busy they can keep me. Made the leap of faith, and I was working 26 days out of 26 days, Saturdays, Sundays. Again, the market was picking back up. The standards had just released and rolled to a new version. They were desperate for auditors. And I said, keep me busy. And so I started in April of 2012. That's when I actually started the official business for CDS Advanced Quality Solutions. And I did 70 audits that first year from April through
Mm.
December. So generally 2 to 3 audits a week, which aerospace audits are very, very difficult at that point. A lot of report writing.
And then to just do the audit, provide value to the client, and still all the administrative work of providing a report in the back office stuff. Oh my, go on.
Yes, yes. And a lot of the stuff was a lot of handwritten notes and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I did that for many, many, many years, and grew my client base at that point. I really wanted to get into consulting because auditing is fun. You see so many things. You learn so much from all different aspects of the whole entire industry: electronics, design, manufacturing, distribution. I mean, you name it, you can see it. So I picked up a lot of skill sets during that time. But then at the same time, I was traveling around, and you're constantly in hotels when you travel, constantly. And, West Texas and in Texas, drought is a big, big thing. Water conservation is becoming more and more prevalent, right? You need to. And so a lot of places I'd visit, you'd see like, well, xeriscaping is what they call it. So there's like no water. All they do is rocks and cacti and just no water at all on their lawns. And so I went to a hotel And I was just getting really, really tired of how these hotels were saving water by just reducing the flow that comes to you. And they just put a little restrictor plate in there. They're saving a lot of water, they say, but you as a consumer and are just suffering. And one of the big things in the auditing world is customer satisfaction is so key. Compliance to requirements, and then customer satisfaction and improve. And so that's what I decided to do. I was late to a meeting one day after um, spending some time in a hotel, and I said, I think I can do better. And so that's what spawned Samson Shower Systems. Is I took my engineering degree, I looked at the shower heads that are currently out there on the market, and said, I'm tired of plastic. I'm tired of restricting the plates. I'm tired of just the same design over and over again. So I did a complete clean sheet re-engineering design of a all metal shower head, and that's what launched Samson Shower System. So it's kind of my first goal was to be below 2 gallons per minute, and I was at 1.8. And my wife tried it out. She's been my guinea pig, and she said it hurt. Please make it stop. I was I I was too good at my engineering and actually made it hurt. I was too strong of a spray. So I actually was able to reduce it a little bit better, do some re-engineering on it, and I got down to 1.5 gallons per minute. All metal shower head, boost the pressure, no plastic. It'll last for years and years and years. And I just think it's funny that I chose Samson because my grandfather has always been a strong player in my life. And he was a private pilot. I was a private pilot. Always encouraged me to push the envelope. Always challenged me. When I was a little kid, I didn't think much about it. You're kind of just always. Grandpa's always on me. He's always harping on me. But I look back and he just constantly challenged me to push the envelope, push the envelope, push the envelope. And so his name was Sam. His name was Samuel, but everybody in the city knew him as Sam. He was an entrepreneur, owned his own electrical business. And so I said, you know what? I want to kind of give some legacy to my grandfather. So I named my company Sam and his grandson, so Samson. And that's how I started my business. And that's just a little bit about CDS and about Samson, how it all started, and the genesis of both of the companies there.
What a beautiful story. And just to confirm, they're running side by side, or you're focused on one more than the other? Like, how is that all working? And does your family
Um,
even see you at all now?
yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to invent a time machine, or I'm just trying to get a little Superman and have him just go backwards on the Earth. I'm running them simultaneously, side by side right now. So I work during the day for consulting, and then I go back to the hotels and I work all the Samson shower at night. Developing, I do all the design work myself. I do all the prototyping myself. We have rapid prototype 3D printer at the house. Um, so I've done all that, do all that on the weekends, come up with test matrices, find vendors.
So I'm not the only crazy one as an entrepreneur, always thinking, doing, mind you, I do make time for the family, but gosh darn it, I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. I go till 6:30 at night, all because we believe we can serve the world in a such better way. Oh my.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes, ma'am.
So tell, oh my God, I could go all over the place, but I'm going to jump. Do you mind me jumping all over the place?
No,
So
no,
tell me more
please.
about the business. You launched them both side by side, but tell me now, where
Mhm.
are you at in the spectrum or maturity of the shower systems? I'm just
We're
curious
about,
about that.
yeah, we're about 3 years into the shower systems. Very excited. It's been 3 years in the making, but we're finally got our last product into the production phase. It's our handheld design. I wanted to make a handheld that was all metal, no plastic, but I challenged myself to make it as equal to my stationary shower head, so 12 and a half ounces. And per my analytics right now, I'm running right at 13 ounces for
So what?
a shower
So help me now, because okay, we're
head.
gonna jump all over the part. So
No
even though I'm
worries.
not diagnosed with ADHD, I just your story's so incredibly cool. So let's just go into the product area right now. So when we think
Mhm.
about your business model, who do you sell to? Who would value what you do?
That is the coolest thing about the shower heads.
Okay.
Anybody that has a shower head is a potential customer. I can go to, there's no niche. There's nobody I'm restricted to. I'm currently focused on like bed and breakfast, campgrounds, truck stops, independent hotels. The franchised hotels are a little harder to get into, so we'll get there eventually. But that was the big thing, as I had to identify that in my business plan. It took me
Mhm.
9 months to build a business plan for Samson Shower before I even launched my company. Nine
Mm.
months. Tons of planning, tons of research going, is this really a viable market? All the research I came up with, there was one other competitor out there that would challenge me on what
Okay.
we're doing. And so that let me know that this is definitely a niche. And all the shows that I've been to, all the conventions I've been to, has proven that you can sell it to anybody. So
So
I
then,
have people. Yeah, go ahead.
no, and then the question is, so
Mhm.
after your wife said, "Ow, that hurts," since then, what
Yes,
have
ma'am.
people said about the shower heads?
Um, I had one client come back and tell me she was replacing her shower heads every 6 months because of hard water buildup and calcification, lime scale. She has my shower product, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I haven't cleaned it once, and it's been over a year." And I said, "Wow, that's great." Another company, another client or customer, I apologize. Um, she said, "I have a problem, Craig. You told me I would save 25% of my water bill." I said, "Well, theoretically, yeah, mathematically, it works out 25%." And she's like, "Well, I got a problem." I said, "What's your problem?" "I'm only saving 24.1." I said, okay, I should have told you a margin of error plus or minus one, I guess, but that's good." And I said, "Well, can you please leave me a product review?" And she's like, "No, I'm just going to send you my water bill." And so she sent me her water bill, and she's saving $400 a month in water on a shower head. It's real.
Oh, that's
People are,
groceries.
yes, that's the thing. Is it? I said, "What are you going to do with that $400?" She's like, "I'm going to start remodeling one of my rooms because she has a bed and breakfast. I'm going to start remodeling some of my rooms. I'm going to be able to use this as a reinvestment back into my company." The other customers have said their clients have noticed no difference or have come back and said, "Oh my gosh, this is an amazing product. What is this?" So one of the things that I developed was an affiliate program, and I had to develop that at night as well, so that people who are interested could help and start selling themselves and actually make a commission on their end. So
So I'm
I
sure the
had to,
distribution model is also quite complex as well, being
yes,
an engineering background. And do you have smart people, or are you a quick study in logistics, distribution, and supply chain? How did that all come about?
it basically, again, it was through all the auditing that I've done. To be honest, is all
Okay.
these companies that I have talked to, and I've taken a little bit of lessons learned from what I'm seeing there,
Oh,
a little bit here, a little bit there. When I go in and I do a compliance audit, I always say, "I don't know as much as you do. You're the subject matter expert. That's why you're doing your business, and that's why I'm doing what I do. So please tell me about your business." And those things that they tell me, I glean from them. And then the other lessons learned that I've seen elsewhere is I can provide that back to them, not as a consulting side, but just,
mm,
here, this is what I've seen
theme.
overall.
Yeah.
And so I've been able to kind of learn about that. Honestly, working at Lockheed and Cessna has really helped me out because I had such a blessing. I mean, I at the time, 80 hours a week was I didn't think was a blessing. But I got to partake in so many different facets of the organization, or what they call con ops, right? Concept of operations. I understood the con ops of the company, from supply chain management to procurement to distribution to manufacturing to outsourcing to supplier quality. Now I'm bringing that in house and going, "Oh, I know this. And I know how to do this. And materials engineering, I know where to go for this." And so it's just been, it's been a setup, like not a setup, but I mean, it's everything setting me up to get to this point. And that's one of the blessings that I've had.
And so I need to summarize that point because that's so important. So often people don't give themselves enough credit when they are ready to take a leap of faith, take a risk on themselves, because they say, "I haven't done this. How can I be successful?" But you have to reflect back all that you've been exposed to, all that you've learned. You've got everything you need to minimize that risk and then figure the rest along the way. I mean, you're right. You've been curating the technologies, the business processes, through podcasting. Here, you and me meeting.
Hmm.
I am curating a group of people that from many different industries, experts that serve your industries, and I'm now starting to see that web work for
Yeah.
itself. Saying, "Hey, can I introduce you to this person? This might be somebody that can help
Yes.
you." And so it's beautiful for you to share. I would say I'm going to vulnerability, but also the intelligence to realize everything you've been doing up until this point has been setting you up for figuring this business venture out.
Yes, ma'am.
So interesting. I'm gonna have to ask you right now. So, like, as a leader, because well, no, actually, I'm gonna skip around a little bit here. This is gonna be one of these really interesting episodes. But how do you know when you've arrived? Because you've got something that the market, you know, that the market needs. You're getting all these great testimonials. Are you at a place where you believe I've arrived and there's a viable market, and I'm now getting more inbounds than uh, cold outreach to people? I'm just curious where you're at in the spectrum.
Not quite to the arrived in that manner. We're still the biggest thing on our showerhead is education because
Okay.
everybody sees showerheads as it's a $15, $20 investment.
Mhm.
And when it's done, they just throw it in the trash. And I'm trying to it's a huge amount of education of well, when it goes into the trash, have you ever seen a landfill get smaller? Well, oh no. Well, I'm on well water, so I don't care about water. I can use as much as I want. Oh, okay, really? How do you get the water out of the ground? What are you talking about? I'm sure you have to have energy to pull it out of the ground. Oh, well, yeah. And are you running on septic? Yeah. So you can dump as much water as you want into your septic system? Oh, no. Do you have any problems with your septic system? Oh, yeah, kind of. Are you getting charged for sewer? So it's a lot of education where you take people through this step of, oh, goodness, it's not really saving me any money. It's costing me more money in the long run. So we're not quite there yet, but people are very excited. We're getting a huge amount of interest. I don't think I'll ever qualify myself as being there because I just
Okay.
challenge myself so much. I constantly tinker. I always look for, I can make it better. I can make it better. I can make
Oh,
it better.
so
Um,
I love this because it's the energy to keep going. You've got enough fuel to say, keep going with this thing. There's something here. And when
mhm.
you get to a place where you want to exit it and jump into the next thing, maybe you'll say that you've arrived, right?
That will be, yeah. I mean, ultimately, that's actually where the business plan came in. Um, before I launched out on this, I really didn't think, oh, let's just don't worry about the business plan. Like CDS Advanced Quality, I don't have a business plan, but I know that market so well. I knew for sure there was no problem on this one. I could just continue to audit, be perfectly good, set myself up as a regular business. Right, I'm on payroll, right? So I don't have to worry about those things because I wanted to just mimic a real business. And even though I mean, a real business, I'm still a real business, but like a large business where you have payroll, you can have employees. Well, that's what I did. And so there was an extra cost, but it helped the consistency from where I was. The shower head is a completely different animal. That is way outside my wheelhouse. And so I'd said, I need to do a business plan to make sure that this is a ginormous risk. Somebody once told me a real entrepreneur jumps out of an airplane and figures out A, do I have a parachute? B, tries to put it on as they're falling through the air. I'm like, that is a hardcore entrepreneur. I don't think all entrepreneurs have to be like that. Um, but that's when I decided, well, I'm going to take a structured and methodical approach and do a business plan. And part of my business plan is basically what you said. And mine was an exit strategy, is what I defined it as. Is at what point do you say, I'm good where I'm at and I'm ready to exit? And is it a multi-generational company or is it a build it up, grow it, scale it, and then get it bought out and sell it? And so that was a question I had to have with the family, the kids, wife. What do we want to do? And so, yeah, about that, you had to develop that exit strategy. And at that point, when I know when those dominoes start to fall, hey, I'm moving down my exit strategy. This is good.
So inspirational. When we jump off of here, I'm going to ask you a few questions because maybe it's the value of my network. But if you had to define your ideal client right now, because whether it's somebody directly listening right now or somebody knows somebody who knows somebody, to support you in this noble work. And, you could say, I'm trying to save the planet. I'm trying to provide a wonderful customer experience. I just want a sustainable, environment because I really care and I want to solve this problem. Who are you looking to connect with by listening to this podcast?
These would be probably your lodging professionals, honestly, your
Lodging professional.
hotels. Yeah, your independent hotelers would be good. Believe it or not, I did a return on investment for everybody's big. That's a big thing that you have to really think about from a business, right? What's your ROI on everything you do? And that's what I now do in Samson. I'm like, before I do this activity, what's my ROI? And that's the mindset. believe it or not, truck stops have the best ROI ever. I did the math on a large truck stop. Their return on investment was 21 days.
Wow.
Amazing. But their annual savings were insane. I mean, insane. So,
Amazing. So I'm
mhm.
going to be going through my Rolodex here, and we're going to do a follow-up here. But what I love so much about this conversation is there, and this is the reason why I wanted to bring you on, because I understand where you came from and your humble beginnings. I was a quality engineer or an engineer, and I went right into the defense industry. So I had the breadth of understanding of printed circuit boards, wiring harnesses, a lot of those individual components. And then, oh my, I went into the .com area, the optical networking. And so systems, subsystems, all these things. And then having to go out to the supply chain to say, can you really build this thing at the
Yeah.
quality that we need? Going back to my military days, I do recall having to present systems to our
Hmm.
resident, military representative, making sure all the I's are dotted, T's crossed. And oh my, if you failed anything, it took jumping through hoops to be able to sell equipment. So I understand the need for standards, for
Hmm.
compliance, for accuracy. But I've also learned as these systems mature, they do provide a lot of value to customers. I've even helped customers myself get ISO 9001 certified, food safety
Oh,
standards. There's just, if you don't just treat it like a compliance activity, but you
correct.
understand the value that it can return to both you and confidence to your customers, it's these are definitely worthy investments, and perhaps, I don't know, profit centers potentially.
Amen to that. Yes, ma'am. Amen.
So this has been an amazing conversation, but this is not the end, because I'm going to open up my Rolodex and see who I can connect you with. But I'd love to give you the floor one last time and ways for people to connect with you. Uh,
Mhm.
just it's been an amazing conversation. So you have the floor, Craig.
Yeah, I was going to say the easiest way to contact me would be through email. So many spam phone calls, unfortunately, they get filtered out pretty quick. But the email, and I'm assuming you'll probably put the emails out there. It'd be Craig at Samson Shower and Craig at cdsaqs.com. Um, Probably one of the biggest things on the just a takeaway from everybody, um, as a leader, the biggest thing that I can think of right now, that and all the things that I've seen, and when I start to build my company, what I'm looking at is a good leader. There needs to be viewing, is always be pushing forward and looks at strategy. There's a reason why in a car your windshield is so big and your rear view mirror is so small. You are designed to look forward. You're not designed to drive backwards in your rearview mirror. And so as a leader, the best thing is to make sure you put the right team in place behind you to execute your strategy. The worst thing, one of the things I've seen as I've gone through my career, is there's very successful leaders and there's not successful leaders. And the ones that aren't as successful, I find that they dive immediately from strategy into tactical. And then they focus and they live in the tactical world, and they don't let the people who are below them, either they don't trust them or they just don't give them the empowerment to do their job. And the problem is that company just kind of drifts, and it just kind of aimlessly meanders, as opposed to a company that's pushing forward and is strong. That leader is constantly setting the strategy and constantly driving forward. So that's one of the big things that I would probably push out there to everybody is make sure you set up a good team behind you, provide that strategy. The best thing I tell all my clients: more windshield, less rear view mirror. That's the biggest thing I could probably tell everybody out there is just focus, strategy. Your team will appreciate the structure. Everybody loves the structure. They'll appreciate the structure, and then let them go, let them do their jobs, and support you being the CLE.
Greg, I just want to say thank you for those insights. Very valuable to both me and the audience. I want to thank you again for dropping in on the podcast. And this is not a done. We are going to continue this conversation offline, but I just want to wish you well, your family, continue success, and be well.
Thank you, man.